Hello. The article that I reviewed was called Literacy and the Single Student, and it was in Literacy Today, the most recent copy of that. It was written by Catherine McBride. She is an author and a professor of psychology at the University of Hong Kong, where her special emphasis is in the acquisition of literacy skills. And she is soon to be coming to the US again, and she will be at Purdue in the fall. As I read through her article, I kind of came up with this as being the central question that I would have. She answers this well. How do we balance the research practices of reading with individual student practices or preferences? So this is something that I have thought of many times over the years in my experiences in teaching, as finding that balance of what we have researched, we have evidence of, but we also have 20 or 22 little individuals in our classes every single year. And coming to that balance and feeling that we have, I guess, the right, or should we have the right to make adjustments in their lessons. So research tends to the group. She starts with just kind of pointing out that research is there for a reason, that it is, of course, evidence-based. And so the things that we get in our curriculum and in our support systems are all from research, and that we should honor that is very valuable. She also points out that in the research studies that they research groups and not individuals. So all of our little friends that have special needs in some way, whether it's dyslexia or dysgraphia or whatever it might be, those students are put in subgroups, but still in groups. And then the research researches and tests with that in mind as a group. So then she moves on talking about individuals, that we're all individuals with preferences, adults and children alike. And so she gave a couple of examples in the article of this kind of individual preference. The first one was a little boy who needed the perfect tool in order to achieve, apparently. He was given a gift of a pen, and he loved the pen. He used it in his work, and he thought that he did better using that pen, and so was allowed to use that pen. I don't know if it was just performance. She didn't expand on that, but that was the tool of choice. Then he was a student with dysgraphia. Then there was a little girl who was dyslexic, and she believed that using different font styles, maybe larger size, made a difference in her work. And so she did not, McBride did not give details of this as far as age or that type of situation, but that each one had a preference to something that was outside of the lines or outside of the border of what was typical in the classroom. Another instance was a person who maybe wanted pink paper instead of white paper. That though research does not support these individual preferences, if it helps the student to perform, and especially perform better, then those should be honored. She also talked about a little bit with the next big thing, how many teachers are looking in the best interest of their students to find something that is going to work for each and every student, because we know that it's not a one-size-fits-all. She just pointed out that while looking into all of those, don't be fooled or tricked into thinking that you need to spend a lot of money on things. You don't always have to try something new, even though it's out there and it's the next big thing. You don't have to do that. Pay attention to the student, and then, of course, to the research. The bottom line, she kind of gave 3 guidelines to follow, was to use your best judgment, which I guess I maybe chose this article because sometimes in education, you're you're told all the things that you really need to do and all the things you really need to practice and cover and check off your list in your classroom. But it was kind of nice to hear, use your best judgment. As teachers, we know what works for our kiddos. And so, not to discount research, because that is, I think, for the vast majority, tried and true. But she gave these 3 guidelines. Number 1, do no harm. So if you have a student that has preferences and that you are seeing improvements, changes, you are seeing a difference in their performance, as long as it's not going against what is beneficial for them, as long as you see gains and improvements, you should use that, whatever it is. Secondly, the exception proves the rule, which is stating that you know the skills, as far as phonics goes, the process, the procedures, you're implementing them and you're doing those. But if a student has a preference that can be implemented, if a student doesn't work well in a certain researched, evidence-based situation, then feel free to use your best judgment and pull away from that as the individual needs. And then third, motivation is key. Whatever motivates them, whether it's a big new blue pen or a bright colored piece of paper, whatever motivates them to do well, then use your best judgment. Do what's best for the student. Thank you very much.